Three, two, one. And we are live with Globetrotting Entrepreneur podcast. And I've got Stacy McPherson here with me today. And Stacy's got an absolutely amazing story. She is a life strategist, a best-selling author, an international speaker, and a serial entrepreneur. She has been an owner or part owner of 4 different businesses, and they are Happy Life Results, Life and Business Strategy, Face Yoga, that I could really use a little bit of that, Untouched Photography, and a Doula International, Birth by Design. She also is 7 children. She's a mother of 6 boys and 1 girl with ages ranging from 10 to 25 years, and she's a grandmother. She's lived in Thailand for 5 years, and she speaks Thai. I'm very impressed with that. She's lived in Israel for 3 years and will be moving to Budapest in the fall to live for 3 years. She travels the world, immersing herself in languages and culture, and has a great love of people and counts every person she meets as a friend. And I met Stacy just a few weeks ago in Hawaii at a business conference. So I was very pleased to be able to spend some time with her, and very pleased to introduce you all to Stacy. So we're going to be talking today about how to stay focused. So Stacy, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So I can't wait to hear more about your new book that's just out, and the topic for today about how to stay focused and how to get more energy, which is a concept that I talk a lot about as well. So let's dive in, and what is your biggest tip on how people can stay focused?
Okay, so I love it. I love that you asked what my biggest tip is. And you'll probably hear me say this and something similar to a lot of the questions, because this is something I live by. So it's fun to start out with it. So what it is that we all have control of our emotional state. It's not something that is given to us by our environment, our circumstances, but it's something that we choose on a daily basis. So when we know that, then we get to choose the way we like to feel. And whenever you choose the way you like to feel, you basically can do whatever it is that you choose to do. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And about the whole focus concept. I mean, with everybody with 900 million dings and notifications on their phone every 5 seconds, what's your biggest tip on how they can stay focused using today's modern technology?
Yes, so a lot of the focus problems that we have is we're looking for something external to make us feel good internally. So we're looking for the likes on our Facebook, or we're looking for the next meal or something that's going to happen, an event that we're looking forward to. So we're looking to all of these external events to try and boost our emotional state. And once you learn that your emotional state can stay constant at a place that you like it to be, then you no longer need to be searching for something outside yourself in that moment to fix something that's wrong. Instead, you just feel good and do whatever work you need to do, and it feels like play, to be honest.
So do you recommend meditation, or what is your style of helping people to come to that realization?
Okay, wonderful question. So I take my clients through an amazing process where they get to experience the reality of it, instead of just, most of us start out with just the theory. Like, that's how I started. Theoretically, it's possible to choose your emotional state. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. How do you apply that? Because when I'm feeling down, I can't just flip a switch and feel good.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. And then I actually take them through a whole process to where they start to believe it. Then they start to have evidence in their lives. And then they start to actually live this way.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how long does it take for your average client to come to that realization, to be able to feel for themselves that they can have control over their own emotional state?
So it starts out, the minimum is about 3 months. Someone who's really focused and really engaged with the concepts and the ideas, really willing to put in the practice, they can do it in 3 months. And I've seen phenomenal results in 3 months.
That's
so some
awesome.
people a little longer, most
Yeah.
people a little longer.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So how do you usually work with people? You're doing this over the phone, or you're doing with live calls?
Yeah, I almost all of my clients I've met in person, and maybe started out with a few calls in person. But then as I move countries, and if I go to new places, then many of them end up being virtual clients, which actually is just as good, because we eliminate a lot of the distractions that happen with getting together in the same spot.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your travels. You've lived all over the world. Where was your favorite place to live so far, and as an American citizen?
Thailand, hands down. I
Where,
loved it so much.
nice. Where were you in Thailand?
I was in Nonthaburi, which is just northeast of Bangkok.
Okay. So you had all the big city life and still some smaller
Yep,
localizer. Yeah.
yep,
You
exactly.
like primarily warm weather climates, it seems to me. How is
That's
it?
very true. That's very
Yeah.
true.
What are your thoughts on your upcoming move to Budapest?
Yeah, it's not going to be as warm. It's not the coldest place on earth, but it definitely has winter.
Yeah.
But I've been there for 3 weeks, two different times, and so in the winter and in the summer, and I know I'm going to love living there.
Yeah, I hear lots of really good stories of people who really like the culture and the climate there. What climate meaning a cultural climate. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that
excited.
sounds awesome. And tell us a little bit about your book. You have a new book out.
Yes, I'm so excited to share this book. So I poured my heart and my soul into this book. So it really is the core of all of my coaching, and it's really, you can start the book from the beginning and end up at the end in exactly the same place as all of my coaching clients. I didn't leave anything out. It's all there. You can take it step by step. I have a special process in the book where you become the coach, and you create your own program basically as the coach, and then you go in as the client and you learn from the coach, and you have the best coach available because they know how you think and feel, and they know all of your personal experiences. So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic process. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So excellent. Um, let's dive into some of the questions now. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you.
All right. So what's one book you've given as a gift and why?
Okay, so my book. So I just have to say that, to caveat my book, I poured my heart and soul into it, and I'm offering it on Amazon, but I also offer it for free to people who come to my website. And I just want as many people in the world to have access to happiness and to feel the way they want to fuel their success. And so I've given my book to all of my friends and family. I went through my entire Facebook feed, and anyone who I remembered from high school, I'm like, hey, you got to get this book. And I would just give them the link because I wanted people to experience the joy of the experiences to as many people as possible.
That's awesome. Yeah. How about let's look at some other quick questions here. How has a failure, an apparent failure, set you up for later success?
I really love how you clarify that it could be an apparent failure.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love it so much because a lot of times when we have a goal or a destination, we think we need to be at that destination, and anything that keeps us from that destination is considered a failure or a setback or something that is a roadblock to our success. But the way I like to do it is to bring the enjoyment of the process along with me all along the way. So it's like I'm getting the joy of the end result in every step. So if something doesn't work the way that I wanted it to, instead of thinking this is keeping me from the success that I want, instead I was like, oh, that's an experience that I had, and it's still an experience on the road to the success that I want. So.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent. So is there a specific incident that you have in mind for you personally that comes to mind
Okay, yes.
that you're
So
willing to share?
I had a really, I have to say, pretty easy time finding clients in the expat communities that I lived in, because they're just small and tight knit, and people would get good results and then they would share. And so to get one-on-one clients, it wasn't very hard for me. But when I wanted to expand and go online and expand my client base, and then also to share my products and services on an online basis, then I came up with all kinds of skills that I had no idea how to start doing, and
Yeah.
a lot of them involve technical skills. So I have to say that being open to learning new skills and being able to try new things has been one of the most challenging things for me, because I would want to say, this isn't my skill set. I'm so good at this and this. Can't I just do these things I'm good at? And so I think that was probably my biggest, like, you know what, Stacy, you just got to learn this skill.
Yeah.
And it just takes time and practice and patience and focus, and then you make lots of mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's completely normal, and that's everybody's path, I think, to success. There are always bumps in the road, so it's learning how to stay focused through those challenges.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
fantastic. So, a quick question for you. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments of time or energy or money that you've ever made?
Okay, so I came across a person who claimed that they could be happy all of the time, and instead of just discounting it as sounding too good to be true, because frankly it did sound too good to be true, I actually said, I'm curious. I'm just going to invest some time and energy into this, and I'm going to see what happens. And I went from being just a normal person, I mean, living life with normal highs and lows and emotions, frustrated, going into certain things in a frustrated way, irritable, having bouts of depression and frustration, just like normal, a normal person. That's how I was. And then by taking this person's advice seriously and investing my time, energy, and focus into what they had to share with me, and really all they had to do was say this is possible, and then what I did was practice it on myself. Like,
Yeah.
if this is possible, what would I need to do? And then just practice. And so I spent a ton of time really thinking, really pondering, and most of my thinking and pondering was me on the edge of, I don't know the answer to this question, and that's a really uncomfortable place to be.
Yeah.
I would say that was my investment, was my mental
Cool.
focus
That
on that.
is. That's awesome. And how long ago was that for you? When was this big epiphany?
Yeah, so it was gradual at first, but I would say 8 years ago is when I started really putting in that time and energy into it.
And were you already traveling at that time? Did that happen to be when you were living abroad somewhere?
It happened about a year before I lived abroad. So actually it would have been 9 years ago, because 8 years ago was when, this is summer already. Sorry, I get my numbers wrong. So it would have been about maybe 9 years ago, just
Okay.
before I started living abroad. I was teaching a class that was supposed to be for children. And it was talking about ideas of really basic concepts. And I started to realize I didn't know, and the world didn't necessarily know, a lot of basic concepts about happiness. So that's where I started.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. And I encourage everybody to get Stacy's book. We'll have the link posted at the bottom here in the comments. So take a look at that. And
Thank you.
here's another one of my favorite questions, and I think it's going to be one of yours too, Stacy. What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
Okay. So basically everything I believe, all of my belief systems are opposite of what's typical and traditional. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
not just a little different. It's not just, keep all that good stuff and add this a little bit more good stuff. It's like flip it on its head, and that's what I believe. So take anything. I mean, relationships, parenting, how to make money, how to interact with people, how to love what you do, all of these things that are just like, you go online and click inspirational quotes. I can tell you why I believe the opposite of that quote.
Mm. Let's hear it. I'd love to hear why you believe the opposite of the inspirational quotes.
Okay, the reason why I believe the opposite is because the basic premise of traditional ideas for motivation, for happiness, for life success are based on, you have to have a certain result in your external environment in order to feel good internally. That's where
Yeah.
you find it everywhere. Even in relationships, you have to look to the other person to see if they're happy with you before you can be happy with the relationship. It's so based on external things and external
I think that
circumstances.
is a very profound thing that you said. I'd like you to just repeat that again so that everybody can hear it and hopefully let it assimilate fully into them.
Okay, so maybe I'll even expound on it just a
Yeah.
tiny bit. And that is, like, take two people who are 100% responsible for their happiness. Like, they know the other person can't give or take away their happiness, because, you know what I just said, it's not external, it's internal, right? Take
Right.
two people 100% responsible. Doesn't mean they're happy all of the time. It means that whenever they're unhappy, they take ownership of that feeling instead of blaming it on the other person. How is this relationship going to go? It's amazing. I can tell you, I've been married for 26 years. I have 7 children, lots of relatives. When you bring a happy person to the relationship, They don't need to do anything for you to make you happy. You're just
Yeah.
going to be happy. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I really hope people hear that and start looking at it and how they can apply that concept to their own life, because that is the single greatest factor to happiness, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, awesome. And another question I know you're going to love. What is one thing you strongly believe in that other people think is crazy? We touched about it a little bit.
Okay, yes. Okay, so here we'll take the parenting one just because I have some street cred because I've raised 7 and
Yeah,
4 of my oldest are owning their own businesses and entrepreneurs themselves. Some have graduated from college in a quarter of the time. And, so we've had some success stories here. I don't just have
yeah,
3 1-year-olds running around.
yeah,
Um, and so the idea is that children come with all of the wisdom, knowledge, and brilliance that they need to be successful, and that you as their parent need to honor their brilliance and honor their genius, really, and just cheerlead them and encourage them and give them opportunities to explore and to like bring out their ability. It's amazing. If instead you do it the opposite way, the traditional way, where the parent is forcing the child into music lessons, forcing them into sports, forcing them to do their homework, telling them what they need to be doing, put on your shoes, eat your breakfast, get your backpack, this kind of parenting.
yeah,
Instead, it's you are amazing. How are you going to surprise me with your brilliance today? It unleashes
yeah.
geniuses. It really does.
Nice. That's awesome. And here's another quick question for you. What are some of the worst recommendations you hear in your profession?
Okay, so hard work, persistence are 2 of the most exonerated things in my profession as an entrepreneur. You just need to work hard and be persistent. And you work hard and you are persistent. But when you say work hard and be persistent, it implies a certain level of, I just have to do this and get it done and not enjoy it. It implies a certain level of just using the word work and thinking about what work entails. It's usually the opposite of fun.
Right.
But I believe that when you incorporate all of the good about fun into your work, you go further, faster, higher, and achieve more than you could have ever done otherwise.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
hard work that's really play and persistence that's really just fun.
Excellent. Excellent. So I know you've worked through many of these issues on focus and energy, but what happens when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused? What do you do?
Okay, so what I do is I take a placebo. Do you know what a placebo is?
Sure.
Okay,
Well,
so
but just for the audience, just to make sure everyone else understands what a
yes, let's
placebo
do,
is.
let's
Yeah.
do. Okay, so a placebo is something that people will give in a medical study to a person who's taking part, and it will be not effectual. It will have just a little bit of sugar in it, but it won't have any of the medication in it. It's purely to be done so that they get to evaluate the results of the study. And what is crazy is up to 30% of these studies will have a false positive or a false negative from this placebo. So it's a person taking a pill that has no product in it other than just a little bit of sugar, and then they get healing in their body. So
Yeah.
I know placebos don't work. Like, they don't give me healing, but
Right.
if I feel down emotionally and I feel doubt about myself or I'm irritated, I know that doing something with my external environment doesn't have the power to make me happy. But when I'm down, I'll just take a placebo, meaning I'll go on a run, I'll cook a big dinner for my family, I'll do something that I enjoy, and in the moment, I can't really believe I'm in control of my emotional state, because if I was, I would be happy.
Yeah.
So in the moment, it's hard for me to believe I'm in control. So what I do is I take the placebo, I get some exercise, I get some, a cup of ice. I love eating ice. I try not to chew it. I, do these little things that I know don't make me happy. They don't have the power to make me happy. But sometimes when you're down, you need to just believe in something that will
Yeah.
make you happy. So that's what I do.
Cool. Cool. And what was the best advice you've ever received?
It was from the person who told me you could control your emotional state. that was hands down the best advice anyone's ever given me. I think that most people, if they got that advice, would discount it and discredit it and say that's not possible. And the
Yeah.
reason why they think it's not possible is because they don't have any evidence that it's true. The reason why they don't have any evidence is because they're not looking for the evidence. Once
Yeah.
they start looking for the evidence, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Excellent. In all honesty, I think there are very few people who are self-aware enough to be able to create that emotional state.
But it takes practice, but they can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so what are some of the personal habits that contribute to your success, Stacy?
Okay, so if I were to label anything in my environment, say the time I get up in the morning, the amount of time I spend meditating, doing acts of kindness and writing in my gratitude journal or something like that, if I were to say these are the things that make me happy, it would be counterintuitive, right? Because here I am saying my emotional state is independent of my circumstances. So I would say no action outwardly is what makes a difference in my life. It's my conscious choice to put the lens in my view that says I can choose. I can choose. Like
Nice.
that's the biggest thing. I know I
That's
sound like a
awesome.
broken record, but it's the way I live my life.
No, that's awesome. Excellent. Excellent. So while we're on really happy subjects, when this is the Globetrotting Entrepreneur podcast, what was your best vacation ever?
Okay, it was in Thailand in Krabi, which is this town by the beach, and you go to this beach called Riley Beach, which is landlocked. So it feels like it's an island, even though it's just on the coast of Thailand. So Riley is amazing, but next to Riley is a little tiny beach that doesn't even really have a name, and it is a backpacker like heaven, because there are, not backpacker, I'm sorry, rock climbing heaven, because
Okay.
there are these amazing cliffs and you can go and you can rent your shoes and your gear for just pennies, and you
Yeah.
go and you just climb these incredible cliffs right on the ocean. It's like the most breathtaking thing. And then to add to that is everyone is there only because they know about it, because it's this kind of secret place that only rock climbers know about. So it only attracts, I'm not kidding, the most fit, the most incredibly attractive people on this planet. When
That's
I
funny.
got there, I thought, do we have to like go through an interview process to get here? It's
That's great.
amazing. That was
That's
my
very
best
funny.
vacation ever.
So, Stacy, you have lived in multiple places all over the planet, but if you could choose and not have go where your husband's going at the moment, where would you choose to work if you could work from anywhere in the world?
Okay, so definitely Southeast Asia, and I would include Thailand, but also Singapore. I recently came back from a trip to Singapore and loved it. I mean, it's so small, right? It's just the size of a city, but it's so clean, and it has all of the best foods from all of the countries that are nearby. And it's amazing. It's beautiful, and the climate's amazing. The beaches are amazing.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. So here's the tricky question. If you woke up tomorrow morning in a brand new world, identical to Earth, but you knew no one, you still have all of your experience and knowledge, and you currently have your food and shelter taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do for the next 7 days?
So I would use the 7 days. And I think if I were to, so I told you earlier, it takes about 3 months to go through my program, but if you let me be with you for 36 hours straight, so I would spend the first like 2 to 3 days with someone to get them up to the state where they're responsible for their own emotional state. So the cool thing about being responsible on your own is amazing, but when you do it with someone else, it's like not just double the happiness, it's like exponential,
Exponential happiness.
It's exponential, yes. So I would find someone, probably an attractive male. If I could be in a completely different world with no one else I would ever see again, I would find someone to help them be 100% responsible for their happiness, because being with someone else who is doing it is the best thing I've ever experienced.
That's awesome.
So that's my first 2 to 3 days, and the rest of the time is just enjoying them.
That's excellent. Well, listen, Stacy, I really love what you're doing. I love the kind of work and that you're helping people to learn how to create their own happiness from inside, not depending on what's happening outside of them. And I love what's going on with your book and with your coaching practice. So I'd love to support you in any way that I can. And I can't wait to hear what's next for you. So please keep us in the loop with all of your new events coming up, and I'd love to stay in touch.
Wow, thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you for this opportunity. It was such a joy talking to you.
Great.
And
All right,
to our
come back again soon. All right, cheers.
Okay, bye.